Hey everybody, Steve-O here from Movies and TVs on the Ball, and I just found out the other day that Alan Rickman has passed away 10 years ago, yesterday, or earlier this month, and I wanted to take a second just to ask you guys, what is your favorite Alan Rickman performance that you've seen him in? I'll be honest, the first time I was introduced to Alan Rickman was in the film Galaxy Quest, where he played Alexander Dane, or AKA Dr. Lazarus. And I thought he did an amazing job with that role. And you know, he was so, dignified. And, I know it was kind of a kind of a homage to Spock, let's say. But he really brought something to that role. And the fact of the matter is, in that whole entire film, he's always bombarded with the by Grabthar's hammer, "You shall be avenged." And I love the scene at the con where he just grabs it, signs it, throws it out. But when he has to say it when he's up in space, and he says, "By Grabthar's hammer, by the sons of Warhand." When he's up in space and he says that line, he really means it, because he, you know, the his friend that, or not friend, but one of the Thermians gets shot, and he really says it so well and so great. Now I and he says it, he really means it in that scene. And then of course, of course, I would probably have to say that Hans Gruber is, his first big role that he did. And especially that scene where, how like how the fact that he says in the film that I'm a great he's Bonnie Bedelia says, "You're just nothing but a thief." He says, I'm not just a thief, I'm an excellent thief." And there's something about Hans Gruber where he kind of was a respectful thief, and it really kind of worked. Um, by the way, Hans Gruber, or the way Alan Rickman really brought him into life, and you can kind of see how dignified he was in that role, and he did such a good job of being someone who's cunning, and especially in the scene where uh, Die Hard, or Bruce Willis, John McClane, excuse me, it's late. I'm sorry, John McClane. He is meets Hans Gruber, but Hans Gruber pretends to be Clay, and they have this really tense moment where he kind of says, "Can I have a cigarette?" And he has a really good American accent. And then I love the fact that Hans Gruber, John McClane catches on and basically makes the line. Uh, he makes the line where he says, "Oh, I knew it was you all the time, Hans." And then of course, in 2001, Alan Rickman played Severus Snape. And I feel like Alan Rickman's portrayal of Severus Snape, though in my mind as a reader, he didn't kind of look the part, but he played the part so brilliantly well. And he brought kind of gravitas to that role. I mean, um, just the way he speaks so slow, and there's a really good um, deleted scene where deleted. There's a good deleted scene where it's in the book, but they didn't really put it in the movie, where Harry is at, or where Snape asks Harry all these potion questions, and he's like, "I don't know, sir," and he says, "I don't know. Clearly, um, fame isn't everything, Mr. Potter." And Harry says, "Clearly, I know Hermione knows more." And there's something, and Snape really brought, I think he was probably one of my, I think his, now looking back at the film series, I think Alan Rickman did an amazing job as Snape. And he was so, you know, kind, cruel and, kind of cunning and cold, but it worked so well. And then, I guess I loved him as a caterpillar in Alice in Wonderland, and I think he just was such a great actor that just he brought so gravitas to the screen. I know I'm kind of spitballing here, but I would have to say that probably Hans Gruber and Snape and Dr. Lazarus or Galaxy Quest are probably my top three favorites roles that he's done. And they're so iconic, and they'll probably live on forever. But that's just kind of a remembrance of Alan Rickman. I think he uh, did an amazing job in these movies, and he was also good in Love Actually, and I liked him in films where I think I haven't seen him. I mean, I've seen clips, but I think he did an amazing job as the sheriff of Nottingham, and I think it was Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves with Kevin Costner, and he did an amazing job in that film as well, from what I've seen. But that's my look at Alan Rickman just through the years. This is just kind of for on the 10th anniversary of his death, kind of a memoriam that I would have liked to have done. But that's my kind of 10-minute spew on Alan Rickman. Let me know what your thoughts are on his roles. Which one was your favorite? Which one was your least favorite? Do you feel like, um, I think, I'm going out on this. I think he can play an amazing villain, but also heartwarming character, like you see him in Love Actually. And he was a great, um, he was a great character actor, and we're always gonna miss him. And I think even like I think there's this famous line that Alan Rickman said, "When I'm gone, I will always read Harry Potter," and he does say magic or always. I can't remember exactly what it was, but you kind of get the gist. Let me know what your favorite Alan Rickman role is, and and by Grabthar's hammer, you shall be avenged. And I'm Steve, and see you at the movies. Bye.